Okay, welcome everyone to this week's distribution theme demo. So I'm going to try and implement GitLab pages with the Kubernetes cluster using the hybrid method. So in this scenario, the pages will reside in a virtual machine outside of the cluster. All other components will be in the Kubernetes cluster. So what I have with me is a cluster running the latest master of the charts repo with this configuration. I haven't enabled pages yet. I just have specified a host name and IP, and I have trimmed down the other components so that only one of them, one replica of each service is running. This is just to avoid wastage of resource. I also have an omnibus GitLab instance that I have just installed the latest nightly package. I haven't configured it or anything. I haven't run reconfigure yet. So essentially, the plan is we'll be using an experimental feature of that's available under a feature flag in GitLab Rails. This will be using artifacts of the pages deployment CI job. It will be available at an object storage bucket, and we will be asking GitLab Rails to serve GitLab pages contents, the page contents from this artifacts zip, like the zip file which is available in the object storage bucket. So to start with, let's enable, or let's tell GitLab Rails that we are enabling pages. So yeah, to uncomment these settings. So yeah, we need a host, a root domain for where the pages will be living in. So this will be namespace.this domain. The pages will be available here. I have a custom domain configured to point at that virtual machine that has Omnibus GitLab installed. It's running over port 18, and there's a path setting which is kind of unnecessary because we are not using any shared disk or shared NFS mounts. But as of now, GitLab pages expect a value for this setting. It's not being used, but we need to have a valid directory provider as this value. And I have enabled the artifact server, which lets us view the artifacts online in line with GitLab pages. And we are using Git object storage. So technically, if someone is implementing this and they want pages with Kubernetes, we expect it to be a production grade environment, and we recommend not to use our built-in Minio. But for the demo purpose, I am reusing the Minio connection settings. But there is one catch. So I have to show that. Let's see the GitLab YAML configuration. I will be shutting this instance down, so it's okay to share the secrets. Okay. If we look at the Minio configuration for the settings, we can see it uses the internal service name as the endpoint. So this GitLab Minio SVC is the internal service name that's available only from within the cluster. But for this scenario, we need it to be available from the pages virtual machine because it's asking the object storage to get the artifact zip file. So we kind of need to provide a custom secret to pages configuration, mimicking all of this, but replacing this endpoint with the public one, that is minio.this domain name. So if you look at my configuration, I am specifying a custom secret with this information. So I need to essentially copy all of this. So instead of this one, I will be reusing the host name itself. Okay, so this is essentially the same internal menu service, but with a modified endpoint. Just to verify everything has gone in correctly. Okay, so that seems to have worked. Now so we are first deploying to the Kubernetes cluster because there needs to be a shared secret between pages and Rails. This is what pages used as a token for invoking the internal API. So we are asking the Kubernetes cluster to create that secret, and we will be injecting that secret to the omnibus GitLab VM. So let's try and deploy this. Pages, there's a host. I think everything should work. Okay. This might take a bit of time, thanks to my internet. So if you are using a production level instance and you are bringing your own object storage, you would have already created a secret with your object storage connection details. You can just reuse that setting for pages object store connection secret setting in the values file. This is because we are using the internal menu. I had to copy and recreate the connection settings. One more thing to note, we are running the GitLab runner in a privileged mode, so the DIN service, if needed, can be ran. And I have turned down the replica account for almost everything, so that only one of them runs. We can see that in action. Let me run Canon. So the next iteration of this hybrid method will be an in-charge pages service, which is under the works. I did have some success getting pages run inside the cluster after hard coding some of the settings and enabling a bunch of feature flags. But yeah, it seems to be working. So yeah, fingers crossed. Okay, something is happening. The upgrade is going through. Okay, we have one web service node today, one sidekick. The task runner node seems to have restarted. Let's make sure the pages settings has gone through. Okay, pages is enabled. Access control node. Other web server pages. Okay. There is a connection setting. Okay, it should work. One thing I'm not sure if I should have used HTTPS, whether it will redirect directly, but we can see that. Okay, let me check if it has created the API key. Okay, there is. Okay, we have an API key created with the Rails side at the Kubernetes side. Now we have to inject this to the VM. So yeah, I have to configure the VM all the way through. So this will be using a HA role. Okay, so we are using a pages role, so all of the services will be shut down automatically. We have an external URL for pages. We are specifying the GitLab server. We are making the pages ask GitLab for the domain configuration. So the domain configuration is GitLab as opposed to disk, which is the default value. And we are specifying the API secret key that we have created in the Kubernetes side. So let's see how that goes. Okay. Side note, this thing shouldn't come if you are not running Rails. Okay, Pages is running correctly. It was able to connect to the GitLab API. So, okay, that being done. So we have now the omnibus GitLab VM and the cluster all configured. One thing we need to do is to enable some experimental feature flags that makes pages asks ask the Rails for the files and tell Rails to serve them from the artifacts, the CA job artifacts. So we need to be on the task runner pod. So these are the two features. One is zip pages deployments and another is pages served from deployments. The first one will make GitLab automatically copy the artifact zip to GitLab pages specific directory. The second one makes it serve pages from this zip file. So we can enable those two feature flags. Eventually, this will become the default settings for GitLab pages. So we don't have to manually do this. This also might take some time because it needs the entire Rails environment to be brought up. Okay, so those two features have been enabled. Let's try and create a project. Let's add a CA file for GitLab pages. I think it should work. It's waiting for a runner pod to be created. Okay, we now have one. Okay, the deploy job failed. Which is interesting. Maybe there is no bucket. That's weird. It's not showing. Oh, I'm on the wrong domain. So there is a GitLab pages directory, but it doesn't have anything. So one thing I'm going to try is change this to HTTPS and see if that does anything. So hopefully when they are recreated, they will use the new secret content. Okay, let's see. Okay, it is using the HTTPS one. Rest everything seems to look correct. Let's retry the pipeline. Okay, it did go through. Hey, we have an output. So, yeah, essentially this is it. You need a publicly accessible object storage service. You need to enable few feature flags, and essentially you can get GitLab pages working in a separate VM, but with a Kubernetes cluster. So that's essentially what I wanted to demo, and I will be documenting this uh, in the docs, charts docs, so that someone who is keen to get pages working with cluster can do it. But we will be eventually implementing pages inside cluster itself. So it's as easy as just specifying a domain name. Does anyone have any questions or anything else they would like me to try? Okay. In that case, I think we can wind up the meeting. Uh, Thanks everyone for coming and see you later.